To call to order the regular county commissioner meeting for December 12th, 2022, 6 p.m. The first item on our agenda will be the invocation, and I'll ask Commissioner Chandler if he would lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, we're meeting tonight to conduct business for the people of Stokes County. We ask you to provide your wisdom and you give us your trust. And also, please remember and give special protection and God bless our first responders. God bless our troops. And God bless the people that need your help so dearly. Thank you. Amen.
Join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Agenda is approved as written. The next item on our agenda is public comments, and I think we have one person signed up. Mr. Sarvasi, I believe, is here tonight. So if you would come up, state your name and address, and you have four minutes.
Thank you. My name is Srinanda Sarvasri. I think it's on. And I've been making presentations to the commissioners for coming on 10 years now, maybe.
Is that microphone on that he's got? Is it
working?
Somebody's car alarm's going on.
I sent an email to you this morning. I live at 1060 Tyler Road. Forgot to say that. I sent an email to all of you this morning, wishing you a Merry Christmas, for one thing. And I sent a document along with it, which you will get when the email system is working. And it's an interesting document that I think has a lot of applicability to Stokes County. I'm always looking for something that would help the county, help people in the county. And this document, I think, is life-changing. It's the story of a man who was in hospice, dying of cancer. And he knew in the morning, he woke up and he knew that he was going to die that day. So he told his caregiver, don't do anything with my body for at least 6 hours after I die. So she honored his request, and that day he died. And he died for we don't know how long, at least an hour or two or three. And when he died, he left his body, and he went on an adventure. And that's the story that I sent you, his adventure. Traveling around the galaxy, learning everything he could learn about creation, about the value of human life, what we are here for. So many things that will be covered in the story that you'll receive when you get it. So I encourage you to read through the story, and I think you'll find a lot of valuable insights onto life and how we could make life better and make Stokes County better. And if you feel moved, you could share it with people that you know. I particularly think it would be useful to share it with your pastors in your churches, people in your community, people you know. It's a life-changing document, I think. It certainly gave me new insights, and I've been studying metaphysics all my life, but gave me a lot of new insights as well. My background is an interesting background. I have a degree in engineering physics, so I look for engineering solutions and things that could help Stokes County. I've presented over 55 pages of documents to the county over the years. And I'll send you a link to those documents so that you can look at those sometime as well. But anyway, I think you'll find this document quite engaging and perhaps life-changing. So I usually just come for a minute or two at the beginning. My wife has plans for me when I get back. So I just thought I'd pass that along to you. It's a little bit long. I have it here, but it's 8 pages, so it's too long to just copy. And besides, you would want to have a PDF of it anyway, so you could forward it to friends and family. I think particularly during the holidays, it would be a welcome message for a lot of people. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you well, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lossie. Merry Christmas to you as well. Okay, the next item on our agenda is comments from the commissioners and manager. So I'll start with Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I just want to welcome everybody that's here tonight. It's sort of a slim crowd, but we're getting closer to Christmas. I'm sure there's a lot of gatherings going on, a lot of people going to visit, have their dinners. So, but for everyone that's here, thank you for coming. And for everyone that's watching us on YouTube, thank you. I know that I think this will be our last meeting before Christmas. I don't know how everybody else feels. I think Christmas is a special time of year. In fact, it's probably my favorite time of year. The only thing that's holding me back this time is I had knee surgery, and when it gets cold, my knee gets stiff, and I had to ride the elevator up tonight instead of walking the steps. I'm not used to that, but thank everyone for coming, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Chandler.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in or coming down here in attendance. What I want to kind of do is, I know, just use some of my time for my public comments, each meeting to maybe highlight certain areas of the county. And tonight I would like to just give a quick talk about the Historical Society here in Stokes County. And I want to encourage everybody, whether your family's been in Stokes County for several generations or you moved here last week, to please go to, they have a Facebook page. Go to the Facebook page and read the Facebook page. It's very interesting. It's got some excellent points and tidbits, and Stokes County history is very interesting. And the one thing that I learned a long time ago is that history is very important to the future. And if you want to, shall we say, change history or not learn history, then you're not doing yourself a service. You're not going to move in a forward direction. And I think it's very, very important for the residents here in Stokes County to actually get interested and come and visit and pay attention to kind of what's gone on in the past. And we have some very, very civic-minded people here in Stokes County that give their time. They don't get a lot of fanfare. They don't get a lot of advertisement. They don't get a lot of government money. But they're really trying to do a good thing. And I'm sure they would appreciate your interest. And they do have a newsletter. I believe it costs $25 a year. And you get 3 or 4 a year. And whenever they have an open house, please come on down, and you'll be pleasantly surprised here in Danbury. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Wood.
Yes, Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you for watching and coming out. It feels great to finally be at one of these and be able to talk. But I also want to thank Nellie Brown for inviting me to the Walnut Cove Parade. They had a great parade Saturday, And for those who plan on being in it next year, it takes 30 pounds of candy to make the route. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm glad to be here. That's all I got.
Mr. Cox.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. The ones watching online, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, because I think I'll be remote on the next meeting. But just encourage everybody to get out to all the events in the county. Already had the parades, I think, and they had a Christmas in the Barn at King on Saturday night. I got to go to that. That was a really nice event that the chamber put on, and had a live nativity. And I think Calvary Baptist Church helped with the carolers and the nativity, and it was really, really good. I think Calvary is also doing a night in Bethlehem coming up this weekend. So just encourage everybody to get out and attend these events.
Thank you. I would just welcome everybody that's participating either online or in the room here tonight. Your participation in our local government is critically important, and we always need your feedback on what we're doing. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and encourage folks to participate in Christmas activities at the local churches and other organizations that are celebrating the Christmas season. And that's all I have. So we'll go to our next agenda item. Before I do that, before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for tonight, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest? Okay, great. Well, the next item on our agenda then is consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. The next item on our agenda is the information agenda, and we just have one item on there. I'd ask our finance officer to give us just a quick update on where we stand with our audit that's being prepared to be sent in. Go ahead, Lisa.
Just going to give you like a timeline.
Okay.
Fiscal year 21-22. The audit team came in June and September for the field work. All information that was requested by the auditors is due by December 31st to them. At this time, we're finishing up on just a few last requests. Out of the 145 items requested, we have 10 or less that she needs.
Okay.
And part of the reason there was an extension amendment to the contract is Martin Starnes is going to be doing the drafting of financial statements, which used to be done before by Julia. So
Okay.
that kind of had to extend it, or we had to ask for an amendment.
Okay.
Extension. We're almost there.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody have any questions for Lisa?
I got one. Will the new software make your life easier on these audits?
I believe so. I think the auditors can get in and look at our information because it's on a cloud.
Great.
Yeah, there'll be less things you have to physically send to them. They'll
Right.
be able to have access to pull everything.
And they are
out.
trying to stop coming in. They're going to start doing everything virtual. They don't do as many visits on site.
So when we have our audit next year, instead of someone coming up and giving us in physical
But they
audit, will they still come, or will they do it by virtue?
just the field work. They won't come in to do the field work with us, but they still will come to see you at a meeting.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I had some discussions this week with other commissioners from some boards I was on and so forth, and the audit thing is becoming a little bit of an issue because a lot of audit firms don't want to do government audits anymore. So there's been some issues with people being able to get auditors. There's also an issue with finance staffs finding enough people that are qualified to do the work and get the audit stuff in. So being a little bit late this year is really not an isolated case. It's something we'll certainly watch in the future, but there's some systemic issues that probably need to be addressed in this area as we go forward. Okay, thanks, Lisa. The next item is a discussion agenda, and the first thing on the discussion agenda is the tax office agenda. And Finance Director Lisa Langford will also address that. I think Richard's in training this week or tonight or something, so he couldn't be here.
There was a single-wide manufactured home that was double billed both as real and personal. And so I think what Richard wants to do is for finance to cut a check back to the tax department to apply to his bill.
Okay,
To get it cleared up.
yeah. Does he also want, didn't he say he wanted on action agenda tonight as well?
Yes.
Okay.
If you would, move it to action.
Okay, you guys have any questions on that or any problem with moving it to action agenda?
That's right.
Okay, good. The next item is a policy for Fire Commission and use of service district funds policy renewal. My paper says AJ is going to talk to us about that, so.
Good evening. As Commissioner Moore said, AJ, I'm on the paper as Atherton, I'm going to go by AJ for the new folks on the board. Most folks in the county know me as AJ, so. Every year after the new commissioners take seats, we have to come before you guys to ask for approval of this document. It governs how we function in the fire service district as far as how the money is distributed and how the fire commission is made up. That's kind of the gist of the document. It kind of lays out the budget on how things are done as far as getting the process done and getting the budget over to the county manager.
Yep, this is a routine thing that I've remember happening many times over the last 10 or 12 years that I've been here. On the even years we have to do this. So, does anybody have any questions about it?
I got it.
Yeah, Brady.
It's kind of long. It may not be specific to this, but so in reading the policy and the contract, are there any other kind of service contracts that each district does with the Board of Commission or with the Fire Commission as in terms of what the expectations are of the actual fire departments?
As far as the service provided.
Right.
Yes, sir. There's a county contract between each fire department and the county, separate from this.
Right. Is it possible for, are all the contracts the same or are they different?
I think the only difference is there's some verbiage difference between the departments in Surrey County and Stokes County. Without having one in front of me, I can't say for 100%, but all the Stokes County ones, I'm pretty sure they're identical. And I think there's some verbiage differences for the Surrey County ones because of some budget restraints or different things. But we can get you guys a copy of those if you would like to review them.
I would. And then, are there, so each fire department, does each fire department in Stokes County have the same minimum or maximum standards that the county is?
In the contract, it only specifies that the department provide fire protection. Anything above that's kind of extra. It's not really lined out in the contract.
So then, and this might be a question maybe for the 911 director, but so are the things backfilled into CAD? So in other words, the different, if there's different standards or different types of training or different types of equipment in different fire departments, so if a certain need is needed to arrive to the scene, I'm guessing that the telecommunicator will have what department needs to backfill, what needs to show up at the location with the right.
Yes, sir. There's, we got dispatch protocols, depending on the type of incident. Maybe if that primary department can't provide that service, they'll be sent with an additional department or other departments, wherever that has to come from, whether it be inside the county or outside the county.
If I can just get a copy of some of the contracts, I mean, if they're all the same, I mean, one will be fine, but I'm just interested in to see the difference of the standards. Nothing bad. I want to make sure that, so I mean, I just want to make sure that everything is the best
I understand.
that we can give here in Stokes County. And so I'm just kind of checking under the engine a little bit.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, every fire department here has a board of directors, and we contract with each one of them individually, like he said.
Yeah, and I think this policy here mainly deals with the county as far as personnel policy, procedure, appointments of personnel. But I do know that the Surrey County one does have some slight differences. I happen to know some of the people that works in the Surrey County one, and I think there is a couple of differences in that one and the ones in Stokes County. So you might want to get Commissioner Chandler that one and then the Stokes County one.
I don't have any
You have any
questions.
questions, Keith, on this?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
And this, the thing we're approving tonight didn't change any, did it? Stay the same? Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Are you moving this to action for tonight?
Does it need to be action? Doesn't need to be, okay, yeah. We'll put on discussion for the next meeting.
Thank you.
I mean, on action for the next meeting. I think you're still up, AJ, for the fireworks display request.
Scott,
Scott's gonna do that? Okay.
Thank you all for having us in tonight. We had discussed at the previous commissioners meeting about, unless it was a new venue, then we didn't need to bring it before you guys, other than just a notification. But this is a new venue up at Moore Springs Manor. So I've looked over the permit, looked over the site plans. Everything appears to be in order. So they're good to move forward with it as long as you guys are good with it.
I don't have any questions.
Anybody have any questions about that?
I got one quick question.
Go, come on, go.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure. So for the Lawsonville Fire Department that's in the standby mode there at the event, so I mean, is a donation given to the fire department, or is there a certain fee that is charged?
And this actually is in the Danbury Fire District, at Moore Springs Manor, where this one is going to be at.
I'm just going on what you had on the form.
But no, the fire departments do not charge anything for anything that they do. So if they go out and do a standby, then no, they don't charge.
Should we?
That's up to each volunteer fire department. It's their own organization. It's their board of directors chooses. We can't
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
we don't have any control over whether they decide to bill or not for their services.
Do they have to be on site as a fire department?
No, some
think
fire
so.
departments choose to, some don't. But no, they're not required to be on site for the shoot.
Well, if the form says they're supposed to be there, I'm assuming that they'll be there, or,
Some do and some don't. We have to be there as the fire marshal's office.
Uh-huh.
I have to be there and do the inspection prior to, during the setup, and then we have to inspect afterwards.
so you mean to tell me that there's going to be a fireworks display and there'll be no fire apparatus on scene if something would go wrong?
We send it out to the fire chiefs and notify them of it, and if they have people available, they're there. A lot of the times it works out that there is, and sometimes it works out that there isn't.
Scott, just out of curiosity, when we had that Blues Creek incident, was anybody there as far as the fire department?
The incident at Blues Creek, I'm sorry.
That wasn't fireworks related.
That's right.
Sorry.
It was at a venue and there was a fire, but it wasn't fireworks related.
No, there was no fireworks there that night. That was a malfunction and.
But it was at a wedding venue.
Yes.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
had nothing to do with fireworks that
Okay,
night.
thank you, Scott.
I guess either the fire department's going to stand by or the fire department's not going to stand by. I mean, whatever the form says, I just go by what is written in the form. I'm assuming that that's what's going to take place. But you're saying it's our policy that it's just up to the individual fire department or the board of directors or?
We request that, we notify the fire chief that there'll be a fireworks display in their district, and we give them the time and date. And a lot of times, they're able to accommodate it. Sometimes, it's a volunteer organization. Sometimes they're not able to have people there, but most of the time, it does work out that there is somebody there.
If there was like an emergency call at the same time, obviously, they might not can cover both.
And we will, this will go out to the fire chiefs of the respective fire districts that there'll be a shoot that night. And, we'll request that they be there, but if they're not able, we can't physically make them, or we don't have fire apparatus to take in the place of it.
I mean, from what the paperwork says, it's a pretty big event. It's like up to 1,000 people, I believe, is going to attend. Did I read that right?
That's whatever the wedding party is.
That venue's not big enough for 1,000 people.
No,
No, I don't
I've been to
think,
several there. It's no way that they can't hold 1,000
Maybe 250 max.
to 300.
yeah, I don't have a copy of the permit right here in front of me.
I do.
I guess, Commissioner Chandler, you're almost asking, should it be mandatory?
Yes.
If someone did?
Yes. I mean, that's, my concern is that, I mean, that could get out of control, really, really quickly. And I guess, so, as I was reading the form here, I mean, it's kind of check, going down it, and, it's talking about estimated size of the audience is 1,000. Says event open to the public, no, it's a private wedding. Alcoholic beverages at the event, yes. And then, let's get to the fire standby here. Will the local fire department be present to perform fire watch, medical standby at the time of the display? It says yes. Name of the local fire department covering the standbys, Lawsonville Fire and Rescue.
That must have been a typo. That would not have been a Lawsonville Fire Department. That's actually Danbury.
Yeah, I'm just going
Yeah,
on what.
whoever filled it out just apparently didn't know which fire department covers that area.
And it does say 1,000 people, so that's probably might be a typo too. I saw the spot where it says 1,000.
Yeah,
I just don't see.
I don't
any way
see
they get
how-
1,000 there.
And part of the requirements are that the people performing the fireworks,
They're talking about
pyrotechnics, they're
I
responsible
can
for
see it in
having
a vicinity.
fire watch, fire standby. They have to have fire extinguishers on site. We have to build this off of, you have your area that nobody from the event is allowed into. It's an area off from where everybody would be at. And there has to be, if you look in the permit, there's a fallout area that you have to plan on everything going into. So it's, the state sets these requirements on what we have to look at and what we have to examine when we go out. And it all changes off of the size of the show. If they're doing larger mortars versus the smaller ones, which we don't really have anybody in the county that's ever requested to do any real great big large stuff.
So, I mean, I think it's great that, this is a private event. It's a wedding. And if it's 1,000 people, and you might be right.
No, I understand.
It might not be that big. And, I guess we just need to look at down the road some kind of policy, because if we have to jump through hoops to get the right equipment and actually a standby, number one, I don't like the fact that it says there's going to be a fire truck there and then there may not be a fire truck there. I don't care what district it comes from or what fire department, but, I mean, to me, if something would go bad, I mean, this is gonna be in court. So, I want to have confidence that when I read something, that it's correct, including the fire department that's on there, because I have to have, I mean, that's how I mean, when I was reading it at the house over the weekend, I thought, you know what, this is good to go. No problems, no issue. The only issue I was going to ask about, which I thought was going to be real quick, was that, you know, some type of monetary, either it's a donation or we charge a fee to having the fire truck stand by there with the people in it. And then, it kind of goes sideways.
I don't think that's it. Let me just say this. I think that it's the interpretation of on standby. I think what has been done in the past, because I don't know of any time a fire truck has actually been at a venue for a fireworks show, because I think on standby just means they're alerted to the fact there's going to be one in their in their area that night. I don't think they ever have went out and been there. Now, they are like for the big shows, like when King does their fireworks and the bigger shows, but not at these venues. There's never.
I would like to know what standby means. Are you notifying just the department, or does that mean there's somebody with a hose sitting there? Well, that's kind of, if you're spending thousands of dollars at a wedding venue, you don't want somebody with a hose sitting there during your wedding.
I mean, again, I just kind of read what's on the document, and maybe y'all think this is vague, but where I come from, it's just not that vague. It says the fireworks display is not allowed without fire department standby at the site. And then it says
Where are you
provide at
reading
least
that
2
at?
weeks' notice to the fire department.
Where are you reading that at? Is that on, I mean, have you got something printed out that says that?
Yeah, off the same thing that you have. I just printed it off to bring it with me. 'Cause
Okay,
for
I'm
notes.
just looking at I'm looking at a different document.
It's number 20,
Fireworks application.
it's on number 20.
Okay.
But you're saying they don't really mean standby, and it's okay.
In the past, I think standby has just meant to be notified, to be alerted that there would be a show in that area, just in case something happens. But I do see number 20 where you're talking about where it says be present to perform fire watch.
And like the 4th of July shows, the
Right.
Warren Cove, the King, the one they did at Lawsonville and Piney Grove, the fire departments are there for those shows. With the private venues like this, it's possibility, we, like I say, all we can do is request that the fire department be there. As their own entity, we can't demand that they be there. We try to recommend that they be there. And, if they're available, they can. With this one, I don't know. This will be a New Year's Eve fireworks display, so we'll be out late that night for New Year's Eve. Are we gonna be able to get volunteer firemen that are willing to come out that night and stand by for a fireworks show?
I guess my suggestion then is if if we're all good of operating like that, then just put it in there. It shouldn't be in there to say, because if something happens and we get sued, or along with the event, they get sued, I mean, you're putting stuff in there that's not accurate. It's not, and it's not at least good for me as I'm reading stuff. I want to be comfortable
I'm worried about 1,000 people.
that, what I'm saying yes to is accurate.
And that number of 1,000 people, that's all we can do is get that from the.
Oh, I know. I've been to events there, and I don't think they can even park 500 cars.
No, they
They
couldn't.
can't.
I mean, it's a great facility, don't get me wrong.
Maybe they just are assuming 1,000 people in the general area will be able to see it. I don't know.
I guess my question, Scott, and I'm gonna go to Ty on this, being our legal attorney. I know that when we have the one at King, one at Lawsonville, you know, the big ones, one at Cove, that we've got fire trucks. I've actually seen, I've been to them, so I've seen fire trucks sitting in certain locations. This is a private entity. To me, that word private, Ty, does that take the responsibility if something happens at the Moore Spring? I've been to several weddings there. Does that take all the responsibility off of us and puts it on them if something were to happen? Let's just, if something unusual happens and a fire broke out.
Well, I think the primary responsibility would be on the promoter, whoever's putting it on, at a private event. But like Commissioner Chandler said, if the form and the application says that fire personnel will be on standby on site, that ought to be required.
Yeah, number 20 does say that.
And,
Be present. I didn't, I was just reading.
You need to require what the form says.
and this is this is the only private fireworks show that we've ever ran into. So this is the first time that we've had to actually have a fireworks display at a wedding venue like that. A lot of, like, the one at Blues Lake, they don't allow fireworks. They were going to, and then after they had the fire, they decided no, they wouldn't do that anymore. But this is one of the few private events that we've ran into in the county.
What about the vineyard? Don't we do one at the vineyard once in a
The
while?
vineyard used to do a fireworks display during the 4th, and that one, Double Creek Fire Department was always there at it.
Oh, okay.
But it was, it was more of a larger event. I mean, I know it was still on their property, but it was.
You want to say something?
I was going to say, you made the statement that you can't require an individual fire department to be there, but you can require the promoter to make arrangements to have fire personnel on site, on standby.
Well, in the future, I think that we should either, reword number 20, or depending on if you're going to be able to cover these events. Like if it says be present, then that's what it means, be present. But if they're just on standby, then that's, in my opinion, you don't have to be there to be on standby. But if you want to, if it says, like number 20, will the local fire department be present to perform fire watch or medical standby? But if you want to do for a big public thing, then yeah, I think they should be, and they are always. But if you want to, if more wedding venues decide to do this in the future, that's something we need to probably look at.
And that may be something that we want to look at as a county of whether we're going to move forward with those.
Yeah, because we have a ton of wedding venues and stuff. Ton.
Yeah.
You guys got other questions or comments?
I think I've talked enough.
I've got just a couple. First of all, would things like the weather affect whether you needed them or not? If it rained all day, then you probably wouldn't need somebody there. But if it's like super dry time of the year,
And we would look at that anyway when it come closer to that date. If it was dry, we're going, Ben's is on the backside of Hanging Rock. We're going to talk with folks in Hanging Rock.
That's what's in the back of my mind, Hanging Rock's
Yeah.
real close.
We're going to talk with Jonathan. If it's a bad, fire time as far as the dryness and of the wooded area around there, we're going we're gonna shut it down.
So the permit, you can still shut it down even though permit,
Yes.
okay.
I mean, if at any point I do not feel safe with the shoot, the promoter, or anything, I do not have to issue the
Good to
permit.
know.
I do have to give them the option for a permit. So we do have to give them the option for a permit. And with the way our standards work here, I do have to bring it before you guys. But if it is any type of dangerous situation or anything that I feel is unsafe, as the fire marshal's office, we do not have to issue the permit and allow the shoot.
So Scott, would you have to give them a certain amount of notice? I mean, let's say you originally approve it and then,
If we went out and the license
Sam or
wasn't
Sam
valid,
ask 'em.
Yeah.
they didn't have the
Phones
appropriate
with the
equipment there, you know, we could
Maybe I'm
delay,
wrong. That's a
tell them,
pretty big
you
deal.
can't shoot it until you get the appropriate equipment, appropriate licensed people here. But, you know, as far as the fire danger, you know, you would want to be able to let them know, because not only are they sinking a lot of money into it, but whoever's getting married is sinking a lot of money into
oh yeah.
this as well.
So if I can say one more thing, then I'm gonna shut up. I mean, obviously, I don't want to ruin anybody's wedding or anything, but can you at least please, because I will not vote to approve this. Can you at least go back and change the form to how it's really going to be? So in other words, if it's the Danbury and the Danbury Fire District, then it should say Danbury. If the fire chief for Danbury says that they're not, they can't or they won't, be on scene, can you cross that off and put on there that there'll be no fire department on scene? So, I mean, to me, it's a little hinky for the board to approve a written document, a contract basically, or a permit that we know is not valid.
Yeah.
I agree, the information on it needs to be correct.
I mean, so this.
If the promoter and the people attending are gonna be relying on the county's approval of, what's in this document, and the information is not correct, that's a problem. Could be a problem.
So I don't know, I don't know the official terminology, how this gets into the, at what point we can make a motion.
Well, the problem is that when is this, December 31st?
Yeah.
They're gonna do it? So unless we wanna stop the fireworks show, we need to have some process for getting this approved before then. And I guess they gotta realize, they gotta understand that it will be approved before they go buy all the fireworks and everything, so. Maybe we need to delegate something to the county manager to do this, or,
You could approve it based on the following changes.
yeah.
Amend it, on that would be okay. We've done that with other things before that you've approved here based on, we can list out exactly what you want the changes to be. Changing that, make sure we have the correct number of people, make sure the right fire department is listed, and if they're not gonna be there, to note that on the form. I think that was the three things, right?
Right.
So if you're comfortable with doing that, we can do that, and I can look over it and be sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that. I just
Then
want.
delegate for her to sign off on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I just
I get it, yeah.
feel more comfortable, the issues, the problems to be on the document.
All right, we can do
We
that,
still need to move it to action then tonight to
make those
get
changes.
approval.
Yeah, with those
changes.
changes, if the board's good.
Okay.
While we're doing it, since we've talked about this for a while, I have one other question. Glenn, are you the one that's doing this show?
Yes, sir.
What's do you give us like a 2-minute description of what the risks are with fireworks and whether fire trucks are always there when you're doing them and that sort of thing? I mean, kind of educate us on it a little bit, on the process of shooting fireworks.
I'd be happy to. Sorry, impromptu.
No problem.
So basically, so I'll give you some examples. Audemars Farms, Cal Patty's farm. We do that 6-7 times a year. No fire trucks are there. When we do a fireworks shoot, so Scott approves what we're going to decide to do. If I have 450 feet
they say I can shoot 6-inch shells. I won't shoot 6-inch shells in that space, okay? We try to make it so that this is as safe as it can possibly be. For this venue, I'm not gonna shoot anything above 3-inch shells. Reason being is I only have about 350 feet. Now I can, according to the rules, go 70 feet per inch. I'm not gonna do that. So, I mean, when I look at a venue, I don't want it to burn down. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't. I mean, my insurance is $6,600 a year just to get my insurance. I surely don't want it to burn down, okay? And I've never had to file one insurance claim, not one, in 38 years.
Okay, great.
Anything else I can tell you?
So basically, you
Like I
just
said,
take a
it's
very,
has been impromptu.
you take a very conservative approach on safety is what you're saying. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, good. That's all. I just thought,
We've done a lot of shows
Yeah.
with Lynn and his company and the company that does Wanna Cove. I mean, like I say, we have to look at making sure that these folks are licensed and are doing what they're supposed to do. It's not just something comes through the office, we check it off and send it on. You know, it's studied on and we know that these guys know what they're doing and not just somebody who's went out drove to South Carolina and bought a bunch of fireworks and gonna come back.
That's
I
me.
have a bar of fireworks in South Carolina.
Actually, I get them in
Tennessee's
Indiana.
got better ones.
Yeah, Indiana has really good ones.
Anyway, anytime you ever have questions, just feel free to give me a call.
okay, we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming up. So do you know what changes need to be made? Okay, so you're good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so you make those changes, then you sign off and approve it. The board good with that, right?
We still need to make it.
We just move it to action
tonight with
Yeah.
those
with
changes.
the amendments to it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
Thanks.
All righty, our next subject, next on the agenda is Architectural Engineering Services Courthouse Expansion and Renovations. And I believe Glenda's gonna talk to us about that.
Good afternoon. I've sent out for the request for qualifications for the architect engineering firm for the courthouse project that we're going to be doing. I posted on our county website, as I normally do. I also sent it to our hub sites and to the state purchasing IPS, because that seems to get to everyone. And so, with that being said, I was very pleased with receiving 5 proposals, because in the past, it's been a challenge to receive proposals, as most of you know. Sometimes it's our area, sometimes it's just the time of year. But with that being said, everyone that submitted was qualified. They all sent in great proposals. Some was on the higher range, some was on the kind of all about the same. As you've seen in your packets, I submitted to you all just the evaluation criteria, because you are more than welcome to look at any of these proposals that I got, but I had read them all. Some were just a few pages and some were a lot of pages. But with that being said, I would like to ask the board's approval to negotiate a contract with Peterson Gordon. One of the reasons I chose them is because they have done some projects in our courthouse already. They did the courtroom C renovations, the E911 center. Also, he did our building study, so he is very familiar with the courthouse structure itself. Also, Moorfield Engineering does his structural drawings, and Jerry has done a lot of work, not let alone at the courthouse, but a lot of our other buildings. The other company he uses is Consultant Engineering Services, and they were also involved with our building study. So they are familiar with our courthouse and all of our other buildings for that matter. So they both have been involved. And so that's how I would like to proceed if you all are in agreement.
All right, go, Brad.
So, in your evaluation, is it just you only doing the evaluation?
And we always, Glenda and I look at those together, just like we did the last one that we went through for the feasibility study for the hospital. So we always look at them, get back together, just compare our notes. Typically, we're on the same page, usually within a few, usually we have the same order. We list them in kind of our preference order. This time and last time we did these together, and we've come out with the same conclusion.
Yes.
Yeah, and is it a formal process that,
We've got pretty much an evaluation criteria sheet that we've came up with to kind of look and judge everything based on the scope of work we put out, to be sure they're meeting all the requirements, first of all, that has to be thrown out or anything. And then we go through and kind of just look at, so their experience. So we've got a list that we go by, and some of that I think is on the
It is,
agenda.
it's in those. What I kind of do is I make my notes
Yeah.
and Shannon does her notes and then I compile them on one so you can.
yeah, I saw
read
the
it.
one sheet.
So
I
you
just-
can read it.
I saw the one sheet, so I just want to make sure, because typically,
Yeah.
you know, that gives you a little bit of protection, and, you know, if someone complains, you know, about the bid
We try to
process.
do, lately at least, several debriefings for groups that have not gotten the contract and have been, that it's really went fine. They've completely understood and liked that format. We could send them everybody's evaluation and what they get. They want to know what they did right, what they did wrong, what they could do next time to improve their proposal. And that's been successful for us so far with this method.
So basically, I just kind of take both of our papers and combine them all together because I don't write very well, so you can read my scribble. I like to do a little shorthand.
Yeah, the main thing is just the scoring, and then
Yes.
it's a formal process, and it's done every time. It's nothing, you know, it's just not sometime this, sometimes that.
No. I always get
No.
Shannon involved, and if she's not available, Amber helps me out. And on this particular project, there's not one specific person, but for example, if it's a department for like the EMS station we did a few years ago, I had the department head, which was Brandon, I had him involved in because it was ultimately dealing with his department. And so if there's a department involved, like Public Works was another building we
That's good.
did, I involved the person involved there. The courthouse is kind of settle on itself other than the judges, but we'll get their blessings.
Well,
on
but
the-
we worked with the
With
judges
who?
closely
Yes.
before we got to this point, as far as
Yes.
getting the preliminary, what they wanted to see,
Mm-hmm.
what it was gonna approximately cost. So we've been through that with them pretty thorough before we get to this point.
Yes, and that was provided to everyone who had actually asked a question. I had numerous questions before anyone really submitted anything, and I actually sent out, I did one thing where I had questions along the way, and I put it on one sheet and I sent it to everyone. Even if they didn't ask the question, they got the question that someone else had asked and the answer.
Sounds good. All right,
We got the
thank you.
same information.
Yes.
Any other board members have questions?
I do.
Fire away.
Do you address timelines, deadlines? How big a backlog they got? When can we expect drawings?
Yes, and actually, all of them, I required them to have a schedule completed. And so they all put in like a proposal, kind of schedule, like if they started today versus, we're in 2 months. And they all kind of gave us a scenario of how many weeks, things to that nature.
Ask them not to specify the product where there's there's a material nightmare going on in the construction
Oh, yeah.
business. So make sure there's stuff ready, available, where our project don't get delayed for 8 months because there's a special screw that's got to come from Egypt or something.
Yes, we kind of dealt with that with our EMS station in the Public Works building. There were some things, we actually changed some stuff around because we kind of left it open to, it didn't have to be name specific. So, but yes, I will make sure that happens.
That's all I got.
You got any questions?
No, I think I've met Perry several times and worked with him, and I think we worked with him some through the school system. And they're top notch.
I had no idea what y'all were gonna recommend when it first started, but when I saw the recommendation, I know everybody on that team, Jerry, Perry, everybody. We've all worked with them, Rick has many times, and they've always done a good job. And one thing I like about it is they're familiar with Stokes County, and we're familiar with them. I was hoping that would come out that way. I had no idea, but glad it did.
You had a good list.
Yes, we did, and everyone that submitted, we actually had a gentleman from the Raymond Company, he actually called, and he actually came up, and me and him went over, and we looked through the courthouse. And
That was the only one I wasn't familiar with.
yes, he was actually from, when he called me, he said he was going to be in our area, and I thought that was kind of odd, because most people aren't in our area.
Just gonna be a damn
Yeah.
But he actually was coming to Lynchburg, and he come from Lynchburg, and he had another project he was looking at in Rockingham County, in the Reedsville area. So he had called and wanted to know if he could come up and he said he had never really been to Danbury to see anything. So he came by, we spent about an hour, hour and a half over in the courthouse. We kind of walked around. I showed him kind of what our plans were, where we were going to build an addition. And so their proposal was very good. You know, I think they would do a lot of things virtually, where, you know, sometimes you just need somebody to look at it instead of, you know, so, but I do think they would be a great company. We do have some other projects, and I'm assured that I will be sending it out to all those people also.
One thing, all right, I've done this for 50 years dealing with these engineers and architects. The hot thing now is BIM. And I hope they can do that, because they can come here and walk us through the building, finished. And that catches a lot of problems as far as design, big enough rooms. It's almost a must now, and I'm pretty sure all of them are using BIM.
Yes, most of them do what we've done in the past, they actually bring something to present to you all. And when we get that far along, and it'll be digitally, and you can kind of move it around.
Right, and I'm sorry, BIM is 3D. It's like doing a cartoon of your building.
Yeah. But yes, we've done that in the past with some of our other buildings, and Perry's done a couple of those for us.
Great.
Any other comments, questions? I just have one question. Wasn't he the cheapest price also, along with his other qualifications?
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt.
His hourly, no, it doesn't. His hourly rate was definitely the boost. But, you know, we did have some that were kind of
He was
closer to.
pretty close to one of them,
Close,
but
yeah, a couple were pretty close, and then
he's
we
a
had
little
one
bit
that was really high, so, which, you know, is understandable.
okay, you need this to action tonight? or-
It's totally up to you all. I told him I probably wouldn't have any approvals till after Christmas, but, you know, it's up to you all. If you
I'll
want to
come on
make
this
it that-
Christmas, Rick.
Yeah, or if you want to wait till after, either way is fine.
I mean, we know what we're gonna do with it, so I don't see any reason to wait. Why don't we just move it to action?
If you all are ready, I'm ready.
Great.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda.
All right, the next thing on our agenda are commissioner appointments to boards and committees and so forth. And I think we all have a sheet that shows who's doing what currently. So I just open the floor. We need to fill the positions from that the two previous commissioners were filling, and then make any other adjustments that the board would like to make.
Rick, I had mentioned to Commissioner Chandler about taking my appointment to JCPC, since that's the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and he has the law enforcement background. He might be a more valuable board member to our committee member than I have been on there. And I would, if I'd given up that appointment, I would be interested in trying to do the Board of Health instead of that, if that would work out.
I know, I'd be interested in taking the Yeti Planning and Evaluation Committee. It's got I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, why, Betty?
Yeah.
Okay, we got two Wyvetti ones to fill.
Which,
You said planning, right? Is that what yours? Your Wyvetti?
Does one person do both?
No.
No, okay.
Last time, yeah, Commissioner Nicholson, previous Commissioner Nicholson, Commissioner Barney Castle were on one or the other, so one was on each.
which one has like the domestic violence component on it? Is there a domestic violence component on one of them?
Yeah, they oversee the domestic violence.
That Wyvetti does do that, but these particular committees, I think one is a finance appointment and
Yeah,
one is
one's
planning and
planning and
evaluation. So I don't know if either of those, I think that might be a separate, I'm not sure if we can reach out to Kathy Payne and see if they've got any kind of.
Well, that's what they say, just what you described.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're on either one of them, you could bring that up, though.
Yeah,
With them,
yeah,
I would
they're
think.
in charge
I'll
of
do
it.
it with either one of them. It doesn't,
So you got-
whatever,
you
it
got
don't
one.
matter to
You're looking
me.
at me. I will definitely do Hanging Rock, and I'll do one of those, whichever one you don't take.
Let me take the board finance committee part of it.
Okay.
Sonia, did you say you wanted the Board of Health?
Yeah, I'd be interested in doing that instead of JCPC, if that would be all right with everybody. And there's the Surrey County Housing Consortium.
Yeah, somebody explain that one.
I don't, I don't,
That's what I don't know a ton about. Do you know about the?
They do the programs like housing assistance programs for people that they can apply for certain things and they can get renovations done to their homes if they meet a certain income threshold, like new window replacements,
I'll do it,
roofs,
I'll
things
do it,
like
it's
that.
got, I'll do it, sounds
There was a program back several years ago. They don't do that one anymore, but there are some new funds allocated that Lisa was here during that time. So we've been having to pull a lot of the old deeds on those. They like redid a lot of housings. Yeah, the CBG, the community, the block grant. But it's a lot. It's a nice program. You probably enjoy on that.
that should take care of it all. Is there any action that has to be done on it?
We'll just move this to action, this meeting or next meeting, whatever the board wants to do. We can just approve the list as a whole since these are technically like commissioner slots. We don't necessarily have to advertise it because it's not open to anyone, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know about all of these for sure, but I know on the two that I serve on, we have 3-year terms. And I was just approved last year, so I'm in the second year of my 3-year term on the Forsyth Tech Board of Trustees and the Partnership for Children. And I don't know how, I know Rick's had several, he's on several committees, but my two, we have subcommittees. Like Forsyth Tech, we have policy. I've been on the policy committee for Forsyth Tech, personnel, impact. In fact, I was chairman of the policy committee for all of Forsyth Tech 1 year. So, and then Partnership for Children, I'm on the Barbecue for Books fundraising event. So a lot of these have committees underneath the committees. So.
Yeah, JCPC has that too. They break out into subcommittees as well, things, so.
I think the YVETI board has theirs listed. That's the YVETI. You're on YVETI and the planning and evaluation, and YVETI and the finance committee. That has that subcommittee listed with it.
I have a question on one of the ones I'm on. I haven't had any invitations to go to this FTCC advisory committee. Is it still meeting? Do you guys know, or who's on that?
I
Or
haven't heard any changes. I can reach out. And
you check and see what that's all about. I'll just keep the ones I've got, plus I'm on a couple that aren't on here as well, so I got plenty to do. Is that all of them then that we need to talk about
I think
tonight?
so.
Okay. Okay, great.
move this to action for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and while you're talking about it, are you going to keep your DSS board? Because that's up next for.
Yeah, that's they've asked me to put myself and Jan have to be,
I just want to make sure while we were talking about commissioner
I
appointments.
think that's a two-year term.
Stacey said it was 3-year, but I can double check.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't been on there 3 years, so I don't know.
They
So
all,
if that's the case, then I don't have to be approved. I have not been on there
She
3
might have
years.
just been asking since you're doing commissioner appointments tonight, but I'm not sure,
I
to
don't-
make sure you're
yeah.
going to continue.
I'm not sure she.
I don't know. And Jan Spencer's not been on there for 3 years either, but she was filling in a term. And maybe that's
That's why,
the case.
that's what happened with Jan, because I
Yeah,
remember
that's
approving,
right. And I took somebody else's spot, Jimmy's.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's probably what it is. You finished
Jimmy
out his
Walker.
term.
Yeah, okay. So it's just time to redo the 3-year. Okay. Yep, I'm sure that's right.
okay, we're good to go on that?
Yes.
Remember, you keeping a list of all the things we're moving to action, right?
Yes.
So I'm not writing them down, so I might need some help at the end here.
I've got them all.
Okay, our next item is DSS board appointment request.
That's just what we talked about. The terms for Commissioner Cox and also Jan Spitzer have expired for the DSS board, and that's a 3-year term. And DSS board would like for them to be reappointed to that board. So if we could just open the floor for any further nominations, just in case.
I need to do that. I need to open the floor.
Yes.
I'll open the floor for any further nominations for these two positions.
I'll make a motion to close nominations.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'll just move it to action for next meeting.
Okay, and do we have to poll then?
That's the next meeting.
Next meeting.
At the next meeting, right? Okay, we'll poll at the next meeting. Okay, great. Senior staff work session in January. This item is one that Commissioner Chandler brought up first, and then Keith right behind him to me, about setting up a work session with the department heads, where we give them some information that we'd like to hear from them, and basically just sit down and have a dialogue with them. And so I'll call on him, let him talk about it first, and then I'll wrap up
All right, thank you.
after everybody else does.
Basically, what I would like to do is, obviously with the input from all of us, is make a metric or a template of what we push out to the senior staff or the department heads, of kind of what we're looking for. But in summary, it is one of the most challenging things that I've seen from the outside looking in Stokes County government is there's not a lot of free-flowing information. It's probably one of the more close-knit government organization that I've probably ever seen. And I've been in government 35 years. And I've went to other places as a consultant. So I think it'd be very important for not just us, the board members, but I think really the community will get a real big benefit to see whether the successes of the departments have been, but also what the challenges are. And so we can all kind of come together and form a solution. And it kind of coincides with, because we'll be going into budget season later in January and in February. So I think that'll kind of give us a little bit of a headwind as we go into as to what happens, some of the needs that the departments need budget-wise. The other thing is that we have to, in order for an organization, someone has to run the ship, or somebody has to fly the jet. It can't be 16 different people. Now, this is a political organization, and there's really not one of us individually that can set the course. But we employ Shannon, a county manager. She's the CEO. So as the vote of the board, we kind of set where we think the mission needs to be, or the goals and the objectives here in Stokes County. And as we have seen, we got a lot of challenges coming up just with the facilities, the buildings, just with that alone in itself. Is going to be a real challenge. Now, with challenges, you also get opportunity. So, there's kind of good and there's kind of bad, but we want to make good. But the first thing that an organization has to do, and I'm going to, and I'll, ask for input from my fellow commissioners, is we have to have an organizational structure. We don't even have a structure, so if a citizen wants to pull up and find out maybe, who reports to who or what they do, we don't even have it. There's not even an internal document that I know of, unless somebody has one that is never admitted that they have one. And I'm just going to give an example of something that's confusing. And that's why, too, that I want to have the department heads come up here so I can get a better understanding of kind of, how this organization is currently working. And the example I want to give is, it involves like Amber. So Amber is clerk to the board. So, I mean, I know what her duties and responsibilities are to the board. I also know who she reports to. That's the Board of Commissioners. But then also, I noticed that she's also an assistant county manager. And I'm not saying what's right, what's wrong with it, but I'm just saying, here's the confusion. So what part of the duties does she do as an assistant county manager that I guess would report to Shannon, or is the assistant county manager, when she does the duties of that, still report to the board? It's stuff like that it needs to be clarified, and and it has to be fairly exact. I mean, not just to be an effective organization, but to be fair to the employee. So, I mean, maybe Amber knows, or maybe you know, Shannon, because you guys work together closely, what is what. But, I mean, I don't know, and a private citizen doesn't know. And I think it sets a professional organizational chart and allows us to put a ship in the water, and all of us kind of know as we formulate whatever our goals and objectives are, or our plans are, and we move forward. And it's to the point to where the more information we put out, it's like this. If we promote somebody tomorrow in the Stokes County, so Shannon promotes somebody to a department head, we should announce that. We should do a press release, and it should be announced that, hey, we're pleased to have, Joe Blow, who's been with the Stokes, and just give where they've been and what they've done. So it shows that number one, you're proud of the accomplishment that employee has met to get that job. Again, we all know how it is. We all know how rumors are. 9 times out of 10, when someone gets hired, then they want to talk about, oh, that's not because of what they did. It's because who they know, or who they are, and we can go down that rabbit trail. Which leads me to the next thing. Do we do performance evaluation in Stokes County government? And if we don't, and you don't have to answer this question, because that's another reason why we'll have these meetings, these work sessions. If we're not doing performance evaluations, then how are we evaluating? It's not fair to the taxpayer, and it's not fair to the employee. And then it runs to the next thing. Are we doing professional development in Stokes County? Again, if we're not doing professional development, how are we making the organization better? And also, how are we making sure we have future leaders and that they're competent and they're confident in doing it? So that's kind of my thought process of why I want to do these work sessions. I'll turn it back over to Chairman Morris.
Okay, Keith, you have any comments on that?
No, my attitude, well, I guess I do have a comment, I'm sorry, but I'll make it brief. I've been in the business world forever, and I like the input. We're a team, and first of all, we're not sharpening the axe. We're just wanting to know our people and how we can work together and improve Stokes County. That's what it's all about.
Are you talking about, are you done?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, are you talking about having work sessions with the entire board, or just the new members, or what are we talking about?
The entire board would certainly be invited, I would think, to do it. And
Like in a meeting format that's like open to the public, that's...
Oh, yeah, definitely on TV. I'm thinking 30 minutes to an hour with each department head, depending on the size of their organization, and having them present some kind of baseline information, sort of baseline the organization where we're at, giving a summary of what they do. I mean, these guys will all be surprised how many things are going on in DSS, just when you look at the different components of that organization, I'm sure. But just have some back and forth, and like Brad said, get these guys real smart on what everybody's doing before they start budgeting for them, which will be the next month after that. So, and then, I know about all of them, but these folks, these two new guys especially, haven't met probably, 2 or 3 of the department heads or 4. So they need to get to know who the people are, who's running these organizations, and I think it'd be a very, not to put any of the employees on the spot or anything, but just to basically have a dialogue and see what issues they have and where we can help them excel, and lay the groundwork for the budget. The other thing I would, and we can talk about things like performance evaluations and stuff as a separate issue, but Brad's been saying, since I've known him, that he'd like to see an org chart of the organization. And I think we have some parts of the organization that have internal org charts, but it really would be good if you guys could get working on one big org chart where you can flip through the book and see the whole organizational structure, because what that organization is something we look at every year in the budget, whether we want to make it bigger, smaller, leave it the same, or whatever. So that's a key critical component of our budget process every year, to review the organization and make organizational changes. So I guess otherwise we would need to maybe by the next meeting come up with a template based on input from all of you guys on kind of some basic information we would like each department head to give us, and then follow that with just basically an open discussion probably. Is that kind of what y'all thinking? You have any comments on it, Commissioner?
Well, no, I'm fine with that, because I guess Commissioner Cox can, where I was superintendent for 5 years here, I had an organizational structure. Superintendent at top, who reported to me, did the finance director report straight to me, did the assistant superintendent report to me, and then underneath them, who reported to them, gave all my Board of Education members, Sonia was on the board, they all got a organizational structure. See, they knew who reported to who. They didn't always have to call me. They could go straight to the source because they could look at it.
That's what I'm used to.
I know what their job duties are. So I had that in the school system in 2011, 2016 before I retired. I'm very familiar with what you're saying, so, I'm good with it.
And we can figure out what kind of format or how long the meetings need to be. We don't need to create a whole bunch of extra meetings.
No, I don't want a marathon.
For other, for a whole lot of reasons. We don't want a bunch of meetings. Maybe in a couple of meetings we could do this, 2 meetings or whatever. But there's, last time I checked, there's about 20 department heads here that we would be meeting with. It's all a very integrated function of what they do between their organizations. And so,
12. He asked me if there was that many. I'm like,
last time I
Maybe.
counted, there was about that
Blew me
many.
away right there.
Yeah, and so, and it really, when you hear from all of them, then you can kind of see how the pieces fit together, I think. And another thing we definitely want to do as part of this process, I think, is have our 6-month budget execution review, get Lisa to do that or whoever, where we can just go through and look at the budget variances half the year through. I think you've got a report that generates that, right, Lisa, that all the budget variances, so we can just look and see where we're at budget-wise for the first half of the year. Put that in the process, and maybe a couple other things. Apologize, I'm so hoarse tonight. I got a little sinus thing going on.
I'll make one more comment. We can put this thing to bed. I want the input of them, what can we do to improve what they're doing? I mean, you have to make people feel important, and if we can improve what they do and make their life easier, that's a win-win plus for the county and everybody. That's all I got.
Okay, and I guess the schedule for this is maybe by the end of this month, we'll try to, I'll take, if you want to, the other commissioners, just feed me input on, template information you'd want to hear from the departments. And then we get something out to them and do this toward the end of January. Because I think we're going to do budget meetings in February, right? Is that when we usually?
End of February, 1st of March.
Yeah. So sometime toward the end of January or early February, have these sessions as a,
And I do ask just if you don't mind giving me enough time to advertise it as a meeting, since we don't have it on the schedule.
mm-hmm.
I just have to, about 10 days.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely do
I
that.
have to advertise in the paper.
Why don't maybe we can set the dates for that at our next regular meeting. Put it on the agenda for the next regular meeting. We'll look at some dates and so forth.
For the department head meetings.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, the school board's wanting to meet with us about their report they just received.
Study, yeah.
Yeah, we probably have something on that, on our next meeting agenda about that as well, about meeting with the school board on their facility study.
Would it be better to do, if we need Perry Peterson to be here, to just do a joint meeting with them on that facility study, or do we want to look at the facility study first as a board before we meet with the school
I
board?
think a good way to do that, and somebody has brought this up to me, would be for us to go to the school board meeting when he presents it to them and just sit in the audience and listen. Probably be a good way to start out, and then,
Next Monday. I put a note in
Merry
December
Christmas.
19th.
yeah,
That won't be happening for me then. I can watch it later.
okay.
I can't be there.
Yeah, that's December 19th, Shannon.
At
Okay.
6.
Did you say 19?
Next Monday at 6, the school board, and Perry will be there.
I think I can go.
Yeah, I should be able to. All right, next item I have on here is, I put this one on, illegal dumping penalties. I don't have a lot to say about this. It's kind of come to my attention that, that we have kind of a pretty big problem with, illegal dumping of trash, on people's farms and on back roads. And this request we had recently to change or try to close Gentry Road, I think that was triggered by a guy dumping a whole truckload of garbage down the hill, coming in there in the nighttime and doing that. So what I would like to do, if the board's good with it, is to have whichever departments it relates, probably David's department and Stewart, and maybe Sheriff's Department too, possibly, but whoever needs to look at our policies or our ordinances or whatever, so that we can, at a minimum, increase the penalties whenever we catch somebody doing illegal dumping, and then I guess just look at the policy across the board to see how we can make, if there's some things we can do to catch people, and then let them know that that this ain't the place to dump stuff. If you're going to dump it, you better pick another county. That's what I would like our policy to do. So if you could just get them to look into that, maybe, and put it on discussion for next agenda. About what, I don't know what our legal limitations are about what we can do on stuff like that or whatever, so we need to factor that into it as well.
I'll get the information on that.
Okay.
You got to be able to prove who did it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Just come by my house on a Saturday morning. I live about a mile from the landfill. Y'all know, help me on Sunday picking up all the trash that fell off the trucks that got by my house. I know that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
It's just a little humor to throw in, but it is, since one cove's closed down, a lot of those people, some are going to Pine Hall, but others are coming up to the Sizemore landfill, and that they come right by my house, and it just goes everywhere. So I just used that afternoon to pick up.
All right.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Anything else on that? Okay, next item, I also put this one on. It's the reinstitution of periodic meetings with municipal and county elected officials. I've talked to a couple of elected officials, both at Walnut Cove and in King, and they would like to reinstitute the the meetings we used to have quarterly.
League of Government meetings?
Yeah, League of Government meetings, and what we basically did was, it would rotate between the three, between Danbury, King, and Walnut Cove, and we would get together and have dinner, and then update each other on all the issues and so forth that are going on within each area, and I would like probably if we reinstitute this to put maybe a little bit more meat in the meeting, like put some, at least have one major issue presented by somebody. You know, if we're going to get all these people together, it'd be a good time if we need to collaborate with them on something and talk about how we might solve problems or how we might collaborate for us to help King or King to help us or us to help Walnut Cove. And I think Walnut Cove, I think Kim told me that whenever we stopped, I think we stopped doing this because of COVID primarily, but I think he said they would host the first one. I think they were next on the list or
They always
whatever.
did January.
They
was
did.
Typically their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was January for them. We always did the fall one here in the county, like in October. King always did the July one, and then Danbury always did the spring one. That was how it always has been in the past.
I
It
thought-
used to,
Rick, that was very beneficial.
Yeah.
Because you're not always able to know exactly what each town has going on. You might hear the big things, but when we met, you know, like Nellie comes, Jack Warren would come,
Yeah.
Miss Witt, Danbury, Walnut Cove, King, and then our commissioner board, and all their town council members would come. Well, they were invited
Yeah.
if they could come.
Most of them showed up too.
And
most of
it was
them.
very beneficial because I pick up a lot of things from them that I didn't know about. And I think it's a good idea personally.
And I guess we don't really need to vote on this tonight. I guess the next step would be to just, for you guys to check with all those folks and make sure they want to do it, and then
Before we
maybe put it back on the agenda.
before we stopped doing them, I used to make it part of the yearly meeting schedule, and I would just check with each municipality and pick their date, and I would put it on the calendar. So if we went ahead and did that, we could just add it to the meeting calendar and put it
Yeah.
on there. What about the pre-COVID, you had a meeting a year with Rockingham and Caswell as a joint meeting too?
You're
We
reading my
stopped-
mind.
Sorry, we stopped on Caswell's turn back in 2020, because it was their turn to do it, so I don't know if you're interested, maybe you were.
Yeah, that's the next thing I was going to say,
Okay.
actually. So
Okay.
I've also had discussion with some Rockingham County and Caswell folks, and they both seem interested in reinstituting that.
Yeah.
I don't know how often we're doing it, do you
We only
remember?
did it once a year. We took a turn each time, like we did it a year, then Rockingham, and then it was on Caswell's turn when the
Yeah.
COVID happened. And I talked to Lance Metzler pretty often, and he was speaking to me about it one day, but wanted to try to get it started again.
Yeah, okay.
Why would Surrey not do it?
To be honest, I don't know.
Closer
When I
than
first-
Caswell.
When I first, I don't know if it's just, when I first came here, there was always Rockingham and Caswell joint meetings
We
with
don't-
us. I'm not sure
we
how that
board at
began.
Caswell?
You might remember more about that than, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the reason in between.
I never knew what the reason was, but I know I came on in 2016 and we were doing it then.
Yeah.
Right.
It was the three places, Rockingham, Caswell. I don't know why Surrey wasn't in it. It's just always Caswell, Rockingham, and us.
It may have been because Rockingham originally set it up and they invited
They invite-
ones
they're
on each
more
side.
Connected, okay.
I got you. They're the connection.
I think that might have been the reason we did it.
If we were wanting to reinstate it, it might be, we could reach out to Surrey too.
Yeah, if we're going to do three, we could do four.
Oh, yeah, there's no reason, yeah, not to.
And we're all similar counties, I mean, like, compared to like Forsyth or whatever, so
Right.
I think if that would fit, but, and then figure out how often we want to do it too, if we want to change that. If y'all check on that, then we'll put it back on the agenda whenever you're ready. And the last item, I also put this one on, is when River Street was here giving their update, if you remember, we had $2.4 million of ARPA funds that we had allocated to them for the project, expansion project that they're embarking on in the north part of the county. And they didn't need all of that after the grant process went through and everything. And they made a recommendation that we park those funds to use for matching funds for future internet grants. So I just want to get the board's feelings on doing that. We would re-examine this during the regular budget process, but between now and June 30th, whenever we approve our budget, there may be an opportunity. There's 2 or 3 new grants that might be a possibility. One of them's called BEADS, and then and Glenn's shop down there. What's the other 2? There's a couple more, right, Glenn?
CAB, the stopgap plan.
Yeah. And so should any of those grant time windows come into play between now and June 30th, I'd like to have those funds parked and not spent on another project until we know if we need matching funds for one of the other grants. And of course, like I said, we would re-examine this during the budget and maybe change it then, but when it competes with other priorities, but for the time being, is the board good with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I don't think we need a motion or anything, just kind of a
I had it
consensus.
divided up into 3 payments of 800,000, and that switched to 2 of 600 and then 1 of 568, so you'll have a pretty good amount of.
Yeah, it's about 600,000 left over, I think.
There's no danger of losing those funds we park.
No, I don't think so, not right now. I haven't heard of any threats to them.
No, I haven't.
That sounds reasonable to
All right,
earmark them for other grant opportunities.
for other internet grant, yeah, for
Right.
internet expansion grant.
Right.
The only other tidbit I picked up that's not related particularly to any of this stuff is this week when I was out and about at board meetings is the LGC is getting real strict on debt. So we better buckle our seatbelts as we go after any debt we're going to go after, and we'll really have to have our story straight probably to get debt approved by the LGC. They're just taking, I think, a real closer look at the state treasurer and the auditor are taking a really close look at governmental units and their fiscal responsibility. And I think LGC is actually running 5 municipalities right now that have had issues with fiscal problems. So whenever we get these projects like the courthouse and everything, it's going to be a character building experience dealing with the LGC, I would imagine. That's everything on the discussion agenda. On the action agenda, what was the first one?
The tax office agenda, the refund request.
Yeah, the refund request. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What was the next?
The fireworks display request with the changes.
With changes, yeah. The fireworks display request, with the changes that,
Approve with the changes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then the architectural engineering services for house expansion and renovations, recommending Peterson Gordon Architects.
Yep, get a motion for that.
Motion.
Motion from Brad Chandler,
Second.
second from Keith. Any further discussion, questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Is that it? Okay, good.
You're moving the commissioner appointment list, right? Item D.
I thought we were moving that to the next time.
Yeah. We're going to do not the commissioner ones tonight?
No.
It's only, what is it, for action next time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Somebody, looking at somebody that I,
Opposed, no.